This podcast is sponsored by St. Francis Regional Medical Center in Shakopee. St. Francis is committed to caring for our community. As navigating the COVID-19 pandemic becomes our new normal, St. Francis remains open for emergency, urgent, and elective care. Your safety is the top priority at St. Francis, and enhanced safety measures are in place while you're provided with quality care close to home. Learn more about the enhanced safety measures, including virtual visits, at stfrancis-shakopee.com/safecare. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Shakopee Chamber Podcast. My name is Angie Whitcomb. I have the proud pleasure of being the president of the Shakopee Chamber of Commerce, and I'm very excited to bring you week 3 of our new program, the podcast. COVID has forced us to pivot and find new ways to deliver value and information to our membership. And this is it. So we're excited you're here. I also want to take a moment to welcome and thank our sponsor for this quarter. St. Francis Regional Medical Center has signed on to be our partner, and we could not be more happy or more grateful. So we're glad to have them on board. You heard their intro here right before we started. I am very excited about this week's guest. Erik Therwanger is the founder of Think Great and has been a friend of the Chamber for 8 years. And we just could not be happier. We've been fortunate enough to have him speak at our leadership class and at our graduation ceremonies. And you've just been a terrific ally and partner, Erik. So welcome and thank you for being here with us.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I love the new platform.
Well, we're trying it out. You know, they say you don't know what you don't know, and we're just dumb enough to go ahead anyway.
There you go.
So, Erik, give everyone a background. I mean, I think people know your name. I think people understand a little bit about what you do, but tell us about Think Great, how it started, and kind of the overview of the company.
Yeah, so I started a long time ago in the Marine Corps and took those leadership experiences into the business sector and had a career in the film industry, had a career in financial services and sales. I've been my wife's caregiver through multiple battles of cancer, cardiac arrest, all these things. And then in 2008, I started to combine some of my experiences while I was the vice president of a media company in Southern California. We had experienced tremendous growth, 300+% annual sales growth. And we were just doing amazing things, even during the Great Recession. We were growing and expanding. And, when you do things like that, people start asking, how'd you do it? What are you doing? Can you help us out? And so I started to really focus on helping people to set goals. And in 2009, I started Think Great. I wrote those 2 words on a napkin and just decided I'm going to build a company around this awesome name. And it really started around personal goal setting. And now it's expanded to corporate goal setting, strategic planning, leadership development, sales trainings, you name it. And we're doing it as a coach, as a resource, and a collection of solutions for businesses and business leaders and their teams.
I love that. Now you have a new platform you're launching, Think Great Now. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it is. Why think great later when you could think great now? That's our slogan for it. And, over the years, Angie, we've been very blessed that when I speak at an event or people come to the trainings, they say, I wish my people could hear this every day. I wish we could tap into Think Great and what your message is. And over the last 5 years, we've been posting bits of my message and resources and articles and all video clips and audio clips on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and all of those things, but they get lost in the minutia.
Sure.
And so over the last year, we have been creating and coding our own social media platform. And so people can actually register, they can create a profile, businesses can have their teams sign up. It's all free. And they can even start a page for their business. They can start a page for their group or like a group page for their people. And they can incorporate Think Great content into there and start to have daily doses of greatness. And so we have found a way to help people to build their business and their teams simultaneously. And it's all free. It's our way of creating the worldwide people movement where they can get on there and just inundate themselves with inspiration and motivation. And I don't know, maybe during this whole COVID-19 chaos and transition, maybe there's been no greater time to launch it than right now.
I
And
could
so
not agree more.
yeah, we've been getting great feedback on it, and we've only just scratched the surface. And your members are welcome to go on there. It's thinkgreatnow.com, and they can create a profile and they can start connecting with other great thinkers. It's all about personal and professional development. So we have a community of great thinkers, and you can connect with them just like you can on Facebook or LinkedIn. It's extremely powerful and growing every day. So it's awesome to watch it.
I love that. And Erik, I think you hit the nail right on the head. What better time than now? And that's what I want to talk about today, because you have been delivering leadership messages every day. And I think now is such an important time. I mean, we're all faced with this incredible disruption to life as we knew it, leadership as we knew it. And I do think there's a lot of negative that comes with that. But I'm trying to look at it from a different way. Like, it's an opportunity. I mean, we all got a little bit comfortable. I know I did, as a leader, as a, I mean, in every aspect, you do what you do and it's working. So you just keep doing it. And I'm looking at this, or trying to look at this, and this podcast is living proof of, well, now we have an opportunity to do something different and better and maybe up our game. How are you advising leaders during this chaos and encouraging them to stay the course?
Oh, what a great question. And since day one, we have been on the air doing webinars and podcasts and everything we can to get the message out there to leaders, because leaders are reaching out to us saying, what do we do right now? And the very first podcast, or one of the first ones that I did, was called Leading Through Chaos. And when COVID-19 broke out, I think we all felt that we were in the chaos. And so chaos and challenges and obstacles, they have some similar qualities to them. So we can navigate through them. But there's really, what I find is there's really three phases to all of this. There's the chaos called COVID-19. There's the transition out of it to what a lot of people are referring to as the new norm, but we already hate that phrase. It's the most overused phrase ever, right? So by 2020, end of 2020, we're going to be tired of it. So we've actually renamed it the Great Norm. And we're teaching people how to transition into a greater norm. Like you said, it can be better, it can be greater. So we have those three phases: chaos, transition, and greatness. And right now, we're actually in the transition phase. Everybody's transitioning back or forward into their new level of greatness. And so what we've been doing is sharing with leaders that, honestly, this is the time for us to step up as leaders. It's easy to lead during the good times. It is easy to lead during times when the stars all align. But when there's chaos, when there's transition, this is actually when our people need us the most.
For sure.
Some of the things that we've been sharing, oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely. And they need it, because if you look at the news, it's all bad news. If you watch anything on social media, it's all horrible and depressing. And so where are they going to go to for sources of inspiration and motivation? They're leaders. But if we haven't been developed as leaders, we may be silent during these times when we need to have a voice. And so what I've been encouraging people to do is share vision. Start to talk about the future. At the end of the day, we know this is going to be over. They'll find a vaccine. There's all kinds of transitions happening. It will not last forever, just like no other worldwide epidemic has ever lasted forever. And many of your members have been through, whether it was times where we were in the Gulf War, or 9/11 happened, or anything happened. The Great Recession happened. Or maybe they had chaos on the home front with a family member who was sick. It all ends, and there's something new. And you hit the nail on the head. I'm encouraging people to look for opportunities with their team. So one of the things we're encouraging leaders to do is use this as a time to unify your leaders, unify your people, your team, and unify your message. So we all have leadership bars. We need to raise them. And now is the time for all leaders to raise their leadership bar up and start by unifying their leaders. Start to take this time to identify, what do we really expect of leaders? Maybe have a leadership definition. Maybe identify 3 to 5 leadership traits we should aspire to, and teach leaders how to pull their people together. I think that what businesses are finding right now is that during the good times, when things are going just as planned, we may overlook small gaps in leadership. We may overlook some deficiencies that people have, but during chaos, those gaps become extremely wide, and we can't ignore it. Just like we can't ignore COVID-19. You can't ignore a leader that doesn't know how to lead during these times. They stand out like a sore thumb. So, I think unification is one of the most important things right now. During times of chaos, you bring people together. You start to create cohesion and rally the troops, if you will. And I think that's an important factor for leaders to think about.
I do think it's an important factor. One of the things that strikes me as you're talking about unification and leaders coming together is that every time we turn on the news or we read a headline, there's such loud examples of fracturing, political fracturing, just everywhere. And that starts to wear on you. And I think in this time where leaders are, stressed on every level, we're stressed on the home front, we're worried about our health, we're worried about finances, we're living on borrowed money in idle loans, and yet you've got to come to work and rah, and you flip on the news to get inspiration and you get kicked in the teeth with, they're not getting along, they don't have any answers. How do we encourage leaders and even remind ourselves daily, maybe this is why your platform is so perfectly timed right now. How do we remind ourselves as leaders and each other as colleagues to put our oxygen mask on first and take a deep breath?
Well, I love that you say that phrase because in the Marine Corps, I was an air traffic controller. So aviation is in my blood. And just as when we go through the little safety briefings when we fly, they encourage you to put your safety mask on first, right? You got to put your oxygen mask on first. And we have to believe in a better future now so that we can share that message with our teams. And you're absolutely right. I think that one of the key questions we have to ask ourselves to get the oxygen mask on and to be able to put it on our teams is this question here. And this can go for every single member that's listening. Can your business be greater? And every time I've asked that, pre-COVID, during the transition, everyone says yes. So if I were to say, Angie, can the Shakopee Chamber be greater? You would probably say yes. If I ask my team or you ask me, can Think Great be greater? I would say yes. The question is how, and that's what we need to ask our people. So leaders, you can ask your teams a very simple question. Can we be greater? When they say yes, ask how. And then understand that accomplishing that level of greatness, it's not happening today, it's happening tomorrow. That's the future. Now we have something to look forward to. So we start setting goals for that. I mean, the reason we launched the platform, now was the time. We've been discussing it and building it for a year. So we moved ahead with launching it sooner because we had to pivot and change, pivot and enhance. A lot of people don't like the word change, right? So we want to use enhance. You've been through the sessions before, So people are afraid of change. And think about this, everything's changing right now. That's why people are afraid, because change is different and it's scary. So leaders, don't change anything, enhance everything. So
I love
for us,
that.
It was a matter of saying, how can we be greater? And everyone on this call can ask that question. How can we be greater? And when they answer it, start mapping it out, have a plan, set goals. You see, if we can set goals, we can look up from the present, the COVID-19 and the transition and all the hardships and the political arena that's going on right now and the social unrest, everything that's pulling us down. Goals can allow us to look up. And as leaders, we are here to guide people. So leadership isn't something that we're going to give it a try right now. Leadership is something we got to dive in the pool and swim with our team and say, we're heading there, because leading is about having people follow us, right? We're guiding people. So we got to tell them where we're going. If leaders don't know where they're going right now, can you imagine that message? Hey, I know COVID-19 is hard. I know the transition is hard. I know the finances are tough. I have no idea where I'm going. Would you please follow me?
Well, and I think
people are going to leave. They're going to leave.
Yeah. Well, and I would venture to guess, and I've been guilty of it, that there are days that I don't know what we're going to do, and it's getting better, but when this first started and, I called my team, and on April 1st, we were furloughed and we were trying to figure out how not to burn through our reserves in 10 minutes and how to take care of our members and get them the right information. And, you don't know, but you just keep going. And I think for me, one of the biggest lessons I've learned through all of this chaos is you can't do it all in a day. and you don't have all the answers. And it's okay
That's correct.
not to know what you're doing or where you're going, but you got to figure out a plan. So, one of the greatest things we did was
yes.
re-strategize. We have a strategic plan. We just set that over there and we're like, now we need a 6-month recovery plan. Let's focus on this. That became much more manageable. So what advice do you give to leaders?
I think that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you hit the nail on the head. It is always, since you have a plan, it's easy to adjust and reprioritize. Mm-hmm. So if leaders are listening to this call right now and they don't have a plan, they need a plan.
Yeah.
If they do have a plan, we need to prioritize, right? And I think you're right by breaking it up into these smaller sections. And I would even say, 6 months out, that's going to push us into 2021. So, one of the things we want to look at right now is, are the next 90 days coming? And the answer is yes. So where do we want to be in 91 days? As human beings, we have the unique ability to stay focused for 90-day blocks of time. And so leaders can just say, okay, listen, we may not know all the answers. We don't know when the vaccine is going to be here. We don't know what the next stimulus package is going to look like, or if there is one. And everybody's having a hard time understanding the PPP. I mean, there's so much. There's so many variables. Well, one thing we can do is we can control our thoughts and actions in the next 90 days and work on goals. Mm-hmm. And I think that the leadership development component is so important because I know that when this chaos is over, there will be another one someday. There always is. Mm-hmm. And the real lesson here for leaders is start to identify your leadership development program. And the reason I say that is when I was in the military, every single day they are putting you into chaos, training you and developing you to be in chaos, with the expectation that you will be in chaos someday, real chaos. So they train and develop you to put you in chaos. In the civilian workplace, we train and develop our people to avoid chaos. And you cannot avoid COVID-19. You cannot avoid it. And so we've almost done a disservice. We have trained and developed you to avoid chaos, and there's nowhere to hide right now. Mm-mm. And right now, there is no hotter fire than COVID-19. And we need to go into the fire, into the challenge, and sharpen our leadership blades. We can be forged right now. I'll tell you right now, every single person on your members' teams, their team members and their clients will remember what they did and what they said during COVID more than any other time that they've worked with them. Mm-hmm. And now is the time we have to be that leader that has a inspirational, uplifting, authentic, and genuine message about a better future. We need it.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot of pressure, but you are absolutely right. And, my team here, we're small and we're tight. And there were days when I had to deliver messages to them that I didn't want to deliver, like, hey guys, guess what? We're going to furlough. And that was some of the hardest, team meetings I've ever had. But you're right. We need to lead and we need to paint a brighter future. And I think we're doing that here. We're trying, at least in this place, but you've seen it all. You've been in large companies, you've been in small companies, you've worked with nonprofits, you've run your own. What are some common mistakes that you see leaders make when chaos hits? Because you're right. We all try to avoid it. We like rainbows and unicorns, but here we are.
Sure.
What are some common mistakes and how can we help people avoid them?
I think the biggest mistake is not communicating the right message enough. Mm-hmm. I think we feel that the team may understand enough. Mm-hmm. And I always share a very common leadership principle I learned in the Marine Corps. It said, keep your Marines informed. And now that might mean that you are heading into combat. That might mean that you are going to have radio silence and they need the information now. What I've found about people in general, if they don't know something, if they feel like you're not keeping them in the loop, if they feel like you're keeping anything from them, they fill that communication gap with negativity.
Yeah, they tell their own story.
So yeah, and it's never a good one.
No.
It's not like, they never say, Angie hasn't talked to us in a while. It must be good. Ever.
No.
You had choices though, Angie. Yeah. You could have ignored it. You didn't have to say anything to him. You could have closed your door. You could have said, I'm too busy. But that lack of information would have caused internal conflict. Mm-hmm. And so I think that leaders, we need to be honest with our people. Mm-hmm. If we don't have the answers, just tell them that this is an acceptable time to say, I don't have the answers. Mm-hmm. Most of the government officials don't have the answer. So we're not expecting every person in business to have it.
Yeah.
But I would also say that, we don't communicate enough. Just have that transparency with them, share goals. And the other thing is I'm finding that sometimes when there's chaos, we neglect the basics, like appreciating our people and praising them.
Yeah.
The Atlanta Journal-Constitution did a study years ago asking 19,000 employees, what I call team members, why do you stay at your place of employment, right? Why do you stay at your job? And the number one answer among 71%, they all the same number one answer was, I feel appreciated. So right now when budgets are tight, we can all afford to appreciate our people. We can all afford to find something great that they did. We can all afford to just let them know how much we care. Yeah. COVID-19 can't take that away from us.
Kindness is free.
And leadership. It is, yeah. And you think about this, think about how many different industries are represented in the Shakopee Chamber.
Oh, I know.
I mean, you have dozens and dozens of industries, but here's what unites us all as leaders. We're all in the people business. And the people side of it, that's the best part of it. And during challenges, that's when our people need us the most. This is our time to step up and share a little good news, or even just have the courage like you did to say, I don't know everything right now, or have the tough discussion. I mean, I actually think it'd be weird if a leader says, I have all the answers to COVID-19 right now. I'm not following that dude. That guy's blowing smoke. But if somebody steps up like you did and say, I don't know everything, but I'm heading in that direction with you, I'll follow you.
Well, let's go figure it out, right? And nobody has the answers. This is all so new. And sorry, my Outlook just popped up. My poor sound guy, I think I just broke his eardrums. Live TV, it's so fantastic. But nobody has all the answers, to your point. I mean, the doctors don't have the answers. Our elected officials don't have the answers. And, all of us as business leaders, we have an opportunity right now. And I think the decision for me, and I know a lot of my colleagues, the decision we have to make every day when we wake up is like, all right, today I'm going to get this done. I'm going to find one thing. And all my members, I mean, I took some tough calls over the last 4 months of, people who are scared and they're on the verge of losing everything and they just want to open and they're afraid to go out. And some days it got overwhelming. And so I had to make a conscious choice to wake up every day and say, today I'm going to make a difference in one person's day. And even if I'm just going to call that person, any person, because I had, over 300 members who would have just appreciated that call and make a difference and see how even if it was just a conversation, they might not have needed help with a loan. They might not have needed me to explain payroll protection for the 800th time. They just wanted a friendly voice that was some sort of normal. And one day on one of these calls, one of my members said to me, Angie, what does the chamber need? Do you want us to prepay our membership for the next couple of years? Like whatever you need, we're doing okay. We're actually doing better than okay because of the chaos.
Wow.
And I'm not kidding, Erik. I was so moved, so happy to hear a member tell me that things were going well, because that was not a common theme. Yeah. But then to say, what is it you need? That it rocked me back, and I tried not to lose it on the phone, and I hung up the phone, and because my husband had become my coworker, I walked out into the kitchen where he was working and just burst into tears. And I thought, okay, on the days leading up to that, you don't know if you're making a difference, right? You're making these calls and you're having conversations, but you, at the end of the day, wonder, was I an interruption or did I make a difference? But then when that table got flipped on me that day, I was like, okay, I'm making a difference because that guy just made a difference. And I didn't ask him for money. He didn't ask me for money. He offered me money, but it was just, it was free. And it was just that little bit of inspiration and hope that is sometimes all it takes to keep people going and motivate a leader or a team member. And I think in this kind of chaos, and I'd love your opinion on this, we're all leaders. It doesn't really matter what your title is. Everybody has a chance and I think an obligation right now to be a leader. And it even goes so far as the social contract we're all making with each other to run our businesses safely, to wear a mask. And that seems to be, the hot argument on every platform and face-to-face. But we have a social contract and we all have an obligation to be leaders for one another to get through this. And you're right, it will end. And I'm really hopeful for what we're all going to look like from a business perspective and a community perspective when this is over. But I do get concerned about the fraction, you know, and this is what the media highlights, right? But they're highlighting the dividedness. What do you see, you know, as a way for us to kind of buffer ourselves from that message on a daily basis and stay motivated?
You know, I think that we have to realize that just because a news outlet is the first to report something doesn't mean what they're reporting is correct. And we tend to take anything we see in the media or social media as gospel.
Yeah.
And I've tried to steer away from those sources and maybe go to the CDC or WHO or maybe some more legitimate sources that at least can say, I don't know everything, but here's some facts.
Yeah.
You know, I think that you hit the nail on the head that right now is the opportunity for everybody to be a leader.
Yeah.
It's interesting in the military right now. When I talk to my connections in the military, I spoke to the commanding officer for the Marine Corps recruiting station out here, and I just said, touch base with him and wanted to see how the Marines are doing through all of this. And he says, hey, Eric, you know how we're doing? We improvise, adapt, and overcome. You know, listen, the Marine Corps is at conflict around the world right now, or at least in the Middle East, and they have COVID-19. For most of us, we just have COVID-19.
Yeah.
But here, to your point, they develop, so does the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, the Space Force, the Coast Guard, whatever. They develop everybody as a leader. Whether anybody's following them or not, they're developed as a leader, and here's why. Leaders handle chaos better than people who have not been developed as leaders. Because leaders already have the mindset that we're going to guide people. And so, you know, to your point, this is our opportunity to step up, to make an impact. And I think that's what your member did for you. That's what you're doing for members. That's why you're on this platform right now. Your goal is to make an impact, and you're doing that. I mean, I could hear it in your voice when we spoke the other night. And I'm like, I got to be on that. I got to be on that show.
We're the hottest show in town.
This lady's fired. She's fired up. Yeah. But you know what? Here it is. COVID-19 going on, the chaos happening. And here you are being a beacon of positivity. And I talk about that with all leaders. We all have the opportunity during the darkest time. That's when our light, our beacon has to shine.
Yeah.
You know, it's nice to look at a lighthouse when the sun is out, but they're really not needed. They're not needed until the sun goes away.
Yeah.
And right now, every single person needs to think of themselves as a leader, and you're needed. You need to be that light right now that's guiding people in during the darkest of times. And there are people that maybe their business is having explosions. Like some of our clients are having history-making months.
Yeah.
But not all of them are. And so, you know, there's different messages for different people right now, and leaders need to understand they are here to make an impact. We can all do that. We can make people feel significant. We can make them feel important and valued and like they have meaning. And this is the time when every single person in every company and every possible client and prospect, they're all thinking about where they want to be when this is over. And I'm not talking about Disneyland. They are going to be with the leaders that made them feel significant during these times.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Erik, this message that you've helped deliver today is timely, and I've heard you speak how many times in 8 years, and every time I'm inspired, I'm moved. Thank you for what you do. Tell our listeners, because there's a lot of them, because this is the hottest show in town, even for week 3.
This is hot.
Yes, getting hotter. But tell the listeners again how they can access you and what services you provide, and give them the address for your new positive platform.
Sure. So actually, the best way, we have all of our contact information. They can find me on Think Great Now. It's thinkgreatnow.com. They can set up a profile. You can send me a friend request, also known as a Great Thinker request, and I'll join your collection. I'll be a part of your Great Thinker community. But we list in there all kinds of positive, inspirational messages. In addition to all the leading, planning, and selling resources, we are providing a ton of hope, positivity, and an outlook for a better future right now. So I hope to see a lot of the members, a lot of the fellow members. I'm a member of the chamber.
Yes.
I hope to see some fellow members there. And I would love to be on this hot show again if you can ever squeeze me in.
Well, you know, the list is long, but I will bring you back for sure. So, Erik,
I appreciate that.
Thank you for dialing in from the gorgeous Think Great World headquarters behind you there.
Thank you.
And sir, as always, thank you for your service And to everyone
Very
listening
well.
at home, it's thinkgreat.com. We will send it, or thinkgreatnow.com, and we will have that on the chamber website, which is another location you can find Erik and his team at shakopee.org. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. This podcast is sponsored by St. Francis Regional Medical Center in Shakopee. St. Francis is committed to caring for our community. As navigating the COVID-19 pandemic becomes our new normal, St. Francis remains open for emergency, urgent, and elective care. Your safety is the top priority at St. Francis, and enhanced safety measures are in place while you're provided with quality care close to home. Learn more about the enhanced safety measures, including virtual visits, at stfrancis-shakopee.com/safecare.